All right. We are officially recording. Oh, I have a little speech here, so I'm not going to look directly at the camera as I'm reading this, but you'll have to bear with me. But I want to say welcome to everyone. It's my favorite webinar of all time, favorite topic for a webinar. And Jim Socci has been so kind to give us his time to present today. Jim is a business coach, facilitator, and entrepreneur in Pennsylvania. He's a family man, father of 3, flag football coach, and former CPA, which I'm sure people probably still lean on him quite a bit. Anybody who has that background. He spent 20 years working in and on businesses before becoming a professional EOS implementer. And obviously everybody here, I believe, if you're from peer groups, has been exposed to Traction, the book, and EOS stands for Entrepreneurial Operating System. Jim is a true implementer, and he teaches the common language to the business owners and leadership team so that they can get more traction on their vision. Today, he's going to be presenting for this hour on Get a Grip on Your Business, where he's just going to get back to the basics, give you a simplified look at your business, along with real, practical, proven tools to help strengthen your business right this minute. So we appreciate you, Jim, taking the time for peer groups. And with that, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Dan. I really appreciate that glowing introduction. And thank you for reading it exactly the way I gave it to you. And I also want to thank you, the participants, the busy entrepreneurs. I love hearing you got someone on the call from Hawaii and it's like 4 o'clock in the morning. I mean, if that's not dedication, that's what inspires me, is each of you. So I'm really hoping that over the next hour or so, I can really help have an impact on each of your businesses and maybe even each of your lives. So I'm just really excited and grateful for this opportunity, Dan. And peer groups are something that are very near and dear to my heart. I've been involved in many over the years. And I'm just grateful for the kind of service that you provide, Dan. So thank you. So why don't we go ahead and get started a little bit here. We got a pretty simple agenda. And it's going to start off with getting real. It's going to take, so EOS is not for every business owner, right? But the concepts that I'm going to share with you require us to get real with each other. So we're going to check in here in a moment. I'm going to take some time just to allow us to kind of get real individually in a kind of virtual environment. So I'll get more on that in a moment. My promise is, really to keep it simple. I want to give you guys some simple things that can really help move your business. I mean, let's face it, business is complicated. There's a ton of moving parts, but EOS was designed to help you simplify the way you look at your business. So my hope is to give you a kind of a new lens for how you see and look at your business. And through simplifying that lens, I want to help you get real results. I'm going to show you some simple, proven tools that are going to help you get more done. So that's really my pledge, my promise. What I want to be able to deliver to you guys is a way of simplifying your entire business, and then also giving you some real things that you can literally walk out of here today, this morning, this afternoon, wherever you're at, so that you can get more of what you want from your business. So that's where we're going. So why don't we start off by getting real? I guess I'll go first. Share with you a little bit about me and my story. I've always loved business, come from a family of entrepreneurs, decided to pursue a degree in accounting before going into business for myself, purchased a multi-million-dollar stuffed toy manufacturing company, and quickly realized that being a CPA did not qualify me to be a great business owner. I like to say I got my real education in business when my clients didn't pay me, my employees didn't listen to me, and my life was no longer my own. After 5 years of working in my business, all I had to show for it were a bunch of recurring net losses and about $1 million in debt. But that's when I got obsessed with figuring out, what makes businesses truly succeed. So I hired business coaches. I read every business book I could get my hands on. I even frustrated my employees at times, but ultimately I figured it out. I figured out how to work on my business. I grew the business, made it profitable, easy to understand. Everyone could see themselves in the vision. So much so that I sold the business 7 years later to one of my key employees. And I got the opportunity and the pleasure of coaching and transitioning that new leadership team over about a 2-year period. And that's why I'm excited to be here with you, the busy entrepreneur, and share with you some of these timeless principles and concepts. So that's just me getting real with you guys for a second. Now I'd like to give each of you some time to kind of just check in a little bit. If you want to go into the chat, I know many of you know each other. I did see that some of my EOS counterparts have joined, some friends, some connectors from the past have joined. So thank you guys. I'd love for you guys to just in the chat, there's 4 things there, your company name, what's your role? And now number 3 is interesting. Are you an EOS fan? I imagine you're at least a fan if you've joined into this conference call or webinar. You've heard a little bit about EOS. You're curious about it, how it might be able to help your business. Then the next one is, are you a whiz? So some of you have probably maybe read the book Traction. Maybe you've started using some of the tools that EOS, and a lot of these things can be self-implemented on your own. Like I said, these things have just been proven over time. So if you consider yourself a whiz, go ahead and write whiz. Or if you're a pro, so a pro would be someone who's working with a professional implementer or a pro. There are professional implementers on the line. So again, just feel free, please just check in by putting a couple of those things in the chat. Dan, I'll let you manage the chat and you can kind of give us some feedback as those, what's coming in. If we have a lot of fans or a lot of pros, on the call. And then the most important question I really have for you is, what is the number 1 business goal that you have? And this is a challenging question, I think, to answer. But I want to give you a moment. I want to give you a moment to just kind of relax and be open, be honest. What is it that you want? There's 2 criteria to answering this question. The first one is it's got to be one thing. And the next thing is it's got to be long range. Any 5 years out, 30 years out, however far you want to look. So again, depending on your role, that number 1 business goal may look a little different. But again, as a business owner, try to put yourself in that business owner's seat for right now. What do you believe is the number 1 business goal for your organization? So would love to get some of that information popping up in the chat. And that's kind of the neat thing, right, about peer groups. You guys get this opportunity to share with each other. And, I'm hoping we're going to see some commonalities. I'm hoping we're going to see maybe get some ideas. Like, oh yeah, that's good. Maybe I want that too. Or maybe that's said a better way or a different way. So Dan, how are we doing? We getting anybody checking in on the chat?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We have a number of fans, surprisingly. I thought we'd see a lot of whizzes and pros. No one wants to say pro. I do really appreciate James Wisdom being on the call, and he's absolutely a whiz because his name is Wisdom.
He's actually a pro. He's a professional implementer.
I know, but he has to say whiz, so he
Oh.
can't say pro. I do like some of the goals I'm seeing. People want to improve their profits, but they want to do it through, Jake Javits wants to do it through structure and process improvement. So I love that he's got a kind of a plan around that. And I love that both myself and Ruben put dollars on this, right? So Ruben wants to see his business grow to 3 million. I want to see my value of my company grow to 5 million. Ryan's on here from Apex in California, and he is a fan, but I know that he's playing with the tools right now from the toolbox. So it's great to see that. And of course, Michelle from Honolulu checking in, and she is working with an implementer, and she wants to be able to work more on the business than in it. So she's tracking and looking at that right now. So some good stuff.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for getting real, with all of us. And, it's my hope that, we're actually going to use this information as we go through. Just to verify and check, there was a PDF workbook that was sent out in advance. So hopefully you all had maybe a chance to print that out. If not, no big deal. I just encourage you to have a blank piece of paper and a pen. There is something magical that happens when we write some notes, and I like to say, be adult learners.
If you didn't get it, put your email in the chat and I'll send it to you real quick.
Yeah. Thanks, Charlie. So again, what I'd like you to do is, I know you have that #1 business goal in the chat, so keep your eye on that. We'll come back to that a little later. All right. So let's move ahead. So we said, get real. Each of you kind of got real, with me. So I do want to share a few things with you, I think, that are important. EOS is not for everyone. Really, like, this is for organizations that are entrepreneurial in nature, meaning they have between 10 and 250 employees whose owners and leadership teams are growth-oriented, open-minded, respectful, appreciative, frustrated, want help, and are willing to be open, honest, and vulnerable with themselves and with the people around them. The system, the processes, the tools I'm going to share with you, they are universal in the sense that they work with any organization, any group of people that really have a common goal. I like to say it even works on your family. Spoiler alert, I'm really big in this, uses a lot of these tools with my family so that we can get more of what we want out of our lives. So just to kind of share that with you, get into a little bit of like the history of EOS and some discoveries that were made. So Gino Wickman is the founder. He's the author of the book Traction. Spoiler alert, at the end, there'll be an offer to there'll be a thank you gift rather for each of you that have attended, which will include the Traction book if you don't already have it. But what Gino discovered is there's two types of business owners out there. He said there's the kind that are getting everything they want from their business, and there's the kind that are not getting everything they want from their business. And so the ones that are getting everything they want from their business, what do they look like? Well, they just sort of seem to be at peace. They have enough time for family. Their business seems to be growing. They know exactly where, their unique ability is, and they spend like 80% of their time, doing that thing, and it adds the most value for the business. They have a lot of fun. They have more energy at the end of the day than they do at the beginning of the day. That's what it looks like, to kind of paint a picture of what it would look like to get everything you want from your business. Now, on the other side, there's those that are not getting everything they want. And, what we discovered is there's some common frustrations of what it looks like when, have these business owners. And really, this is what drove Gino, because his research and his discoveries, he said like only 1 out of 20 business owners were getting what they wanted or getting everything they wanted from their business. So as you can imagine, that creates a huge opportunity for the system that Gino went ahead and developed. He was obsessed over this. So in his obsession, he uncovered 5 frustrations. Now, if you're going to write anything down, I would not write these down. Control. Most business owners that are not getting everything they want from their business, they feel like the business is running them. They're not running the business. Or to say, also said another way, they're wearing, too many hats, and they're just maybe things are going great, but they just feel like they're running behind the truck going down the highway, just trying to just keep up with their business. So that's frustration number 1. Frustration number 2 is profit. It was kind of interesting because in the check-in, some of you shared that, it's a lack of profit, right? For the amount of time and energy that you're putting into your business, you just don't seem to be getting the return that maybe you had anticipated, for the level of, energy and resources that you're putting on the line there, you would, there's lots of other ways to generate maybe that amount of money. And you're saying, I just don't think we're getting the necessary return for, the amount of time we're putting in. So lack of profit is a frustration for many business owners. Next is people. I'm pretty sure all of you have people in your business. If you didn't, then that might be another problem. But the idea here is that you've got good people. They just don't seem to listen, follow through, see the bigger picture, right? People can be very frustrating. And it's like, you feel like there's that moment you're like, oh, we need to add people, and that's the solution. And then you add the people and you're stressed beyond belief because they just don't get it. They don't work out. We got to replace them. It's just this never-ending battle of people. And then the next frustration is hitting the ceiling. So this is this idea that your business is, you started out, you're kind of sailing along, everything's going great, you're growing year after year, and then boom, you hit that ceiling. You're trying to get to the next level, and for whatever reason, it actually leads to the next frustration is nothing's working. You're trying everything, trying to get to that next level, and you become the flavor of the month. You read this book, you tried this consultant, you did that, and your employees, your team is getting a little disheartened on all the things that are doing. And because at the end of the day, nothing's really getting you over the finish line. So those are the 5 common frustrations of business owners that are not getting everything they want. And now that I've got you mildly depressed, let me help simplify things. Let me show you a lens, a mechanism to help you get more of what you want, and hopefully be able to eliminate or conquer some of those frustrations in this journey. So I'm going to take you on a journey, and this is a model. This is an EOS model, model for simplifying your business. But this model was developed out of a discovery that business owners are faced with about 136 issues simultaneously, just coming at them. But what we uncovered is that to the extent that we can simplify and reduce your business to something we call 6 key components, all those 136 issues are just symptoms of a weakness in one of these key components. So I'm going to walk you through the 6 key components, first at a high level, first pass, and then on a second pass, I'm going to go a little deeper and show you some of the tools that, like I promised you could start using today to help improve or help you get more of what you want from your business. Now, I also am going to warn you, this may feel like you're drinking out of a fire hose. I'm really going to open up the toolbox. You're going to feel like, we've got about 40 some minutes left here. I'm going to go a little bit fast. And, I don't know if Dan is there or Charlie, but if anybody wants to slow down, or if there's things in the chat, go ahead and just put your questions out there, and I'm going to keep going. This is going to be probably more of a monologue, but I will encourage you at the end, we will respond to, some of those questions, especially if there's some whizzes on there, some fans that are trying some things, you have some questions, I will dig into that. But this material, there's a lot here. It's simple, but it's a little robust. So I'm going to get through it kind of as so you can kind of see the whole thing, and then I'm happy to have a conversation with you, offline to help clarify anything. So you've got this EOS model. This is the lens. You've got your business in the center of the model. First key component is the vision component. Okay, very simply, where are you going and what's your plan to get there? That's the vision component. And it's not that, your organization doesn't have a vision. It's just that you and maybe your leadership team are seeing different things and you're not on the same page. So I'm going to give you guys some tools to help you improve on that. Next is people. Next key component of your business is people. It's hard to achieve a vision without great people. The challenge is just, how do you define what a really great person is for your unique organization? And I'm going to show you how we do that with some tools a little bit later. Next is data. This is running your business on the hard facts and figures versus sometimes that subjective or emotional information that we sometimes see being used in entrepreneurial organizations to make decisions. So those are the first three components. And what's very interesting is when an organization gets stronger in each of these three components, all of the impurities, imperfections, challenges, opportunities start to kind of bubble up to the surface, which creates the fourth key component, which is the issues component. This is about setting your issues up as they arrive, kind of getting them out of your head, setting them up, prioritizing them, knocking them down, making them go away forever. The reality of it is that most businesses, most leaders are not very good at solving problems together. It's sort of an epidemic. Anyway, we'll get more into that a little bit later. Next is the core process. What are your core processes? This is just a handful of very high level core processes that your organization has to do the right way and the best way every single time. It's what makes your business more scalable, more profitable, and more fun to be a part of and manage and operate. That's core process. And last but not least, the final and sixth key component of your business is the traction component. This is about bringing that vision down to the ground and executing on it with real discipline and accountability. This, my friends, is where most entrepreneurial dreams go to die. A lack of traction. I think Gino Wickman said it best. Vision without traction is hallucination. So that is the EOS model. Boom. I always like to say, this is the new lens. This is this simplified way of looking at your business. And you got these 6 key components. And I always like kind of looks like an eyeball staring back at me. So it helps me kind of remember this is that lens that we're looking through. Now, that's all well and good. Now, what's fascinating is about this system is we actually measure our progress, and you can measure your progress. And I'm going to give you guys some tools a little later to really see where you are on this journey. Our goal. So remember, there's business owners that are getting everything they want out of their business, and there's those that are not. Well, when you're getting everything you want from your business, typically you are in each of these 6 key components, you're what we call 80% strong in each of these 6 key components. So imagine that. So we have a very subjective and scientific way of measuring this, which again, I'll show you what that looks like towards the end, to see exactly how strong you are in each of these 6 key components. Truth be told, when we start with most of our clients, they're somewhere down in that 20% strong. This is otherwise said succeeding largely in spite of themselves. So this is just open and honest, being real, where you feel you are in, your health and strength as an organization in each of these 6 key components, and therefore getting everything you want out of your business. All right, so I'm going to take a second pass now around this EOS model, give you now you kind of got the simplified look. Now I'm going to give you some things that are going to get you some real results in your business. And we're going to go through each of the 6 key components at a deeper level. We're going to start with the vision component. And again, I said this was simple. We just answer 8 questions. 8 simple questions is all we need to do. And we answer those 8 questions in something called a vision traction organizer, right? So VTO for short. These 8 questions, this is where we document the answers to the 8 questions. So I like to say this is your 2-page business plan right here. And it's all revolving around these 8 questions. This was the revolutionary tool that Gino Wickman created. This is all in the book, in the traction book as well. But so what are the 8 questions? What are your core values? What's your core focus? What's your 10-year target, your marketing strategy, your 3-year picture, your 1-year plan, your rocks, your issues list, blah, blah, blah. Tons of information. I'm going to unpack each one of these things for you because again, I want you to be able to use this tool in your business. So if you have the PDF, you have the workbook, pull out that workbook. I believe it's this tool is on page 2 or 3 in that workbook. So you can actually, I want to actually give you the opportunity to write some things down in this tool as we go through it. So what are your we're going to go through real quick. What are your core values? These are just those essential guiding characteristics of who you are at the core. Just to be clear, not everyone in your organization may necessarily be a right person in your organization. So these core values, understanding and using your core values. And, I apologize because, I think core values have been overdone. These aren't things that are just on your website. These are things you actually have to use. And, I think we've, whether you've read, Jim Collins' Good to Great, we all understand this. Every MBA program in the world is telling you you need to have these core values, but they're not necessarily showing you how to use these core values. And as we get a little later here, I'm going to show you how you can use these core values. So your core values, just real quick, they need to be discovered. We like to say you reek of your core values. They need to be defined with clarity so they can be communicated to your employees, and you need to live and breathe them. We always say within 5 minutes of spending time with someone, you know and understand mostly what their core values are. So that's your core values. Second question is, what's your core focus? This is also known as your sweet spot. We like to say this is your purpose, your cause, your passion, why you get up in the morning, right? And then that niche, what's that area that you're going to stay laser focused on to help, your clients. This is we call it the core focus because it comes from your core and it's where you need to stay focused so that you can have the biggest impact for your clients. Next question is your 10-year target. Where do you want to go long term? What is that number one business goal? Oh, that's what we talked about in the beginning. So what I'd like you to do, if you have that PDF in front of you, you've got that, open it up to the VTO and go ahead and write. Go ahead, just take a second and write. What is it that you want from your business? That number one business goal. Again, 5 to 30 years out. We just say 10-year in this document because what we have found is that on average, it takes business owners running on EOS about 10 years to achieve that number one long-term business goal, the BHAG, if you will. And it's just one thing, that number one goal. So go ahead, and write it, copy it into the workbook. And the next is the marketing strategy. So you can imagine, you know who you are at the core, you know where you want to go long-term. You know what you're best at in the world. Now it's like, okay, now where do we spend our hard-earned marketing dollars and resources, right? So let's describe that target market, that ideal client in, maybe a couple of sentences or a paragraph. Then once we know exactly like who we need to talk to accomplish that 10-year target, like what's unique about us that's important to that target market? And we need to make sure we express that in a very simple, clear way of what makes us better and different than our competition. Next is your marketing strategy should include your proven process. This is, that you typically a one-page visual illustration of what it looks like from the time that your ideal client starts, you start a conversation with them to the time they become longtime satisfied business partners of yours, right? People like to be in the hands of an expert. So if you have a proven process, again, this can be something that also differentiates you. And last is your guarantee. This is kind of a revolutionary pledge or promise to your ideal client. It's something that helps overcome a fear maybe that they have, a fear of adoption. Maybe it helps your salespeople overcome an objection in the sales process. That is your marketing strategy. So now you know who you are at the core, what you're best at in the world, where you're going long-term, who and what you're going to say to that ideal customer. Now we need to take one step forward, a giant step forward into what is it going to start to look like? What is this organization going to look like 3 years out? We're not talking about a 5 to 15 page strategic plan here. We are talking about, hey, let's pick some dates, let's pick some numbers, some revenue, some profits, maybe a measurable or two of what it really looks like as we start to accomplish our goals. And then we're going to answer the question, what does it look like? Now, I'm going to pause here because the answers to these 8 questions, you might get excited and just start answering these all on your own as that owner or visionary. These are things that's important that you work together with your team to answer these questions. You know, a lot of visionaries, you know, we call it thump, 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 thump. The visionary says, can you see what I'm saying? Can you see what I'm saying? No, that's the silliest thing you've ever said. You can't see what you're saying. You have to show them, you have to describe, you have to get it out of your head. You've got to get it on the paper and show them what it looks like. So again, 5 to 15 to 20 bullet points of what it starts looking like. How many employees, how many locations, maybe there's certain awards that you guys will have won, like really just dreaming in your way and getting it in your mind's eye and getting in the mind's eye of your leadership team to imagine what your business will look like 3 short years from now. What's really important about this phase of, you know, developing your plan, this is very different than a 1-year plan or you know, you're not going to look at this 3-year plan and be like, well, you know, it was, you know, 2023 and now it's 2026. And we said we'd do this by 2026. And when we did this and we didn't do that. That's not how this works. This is picture this as you're driving down the highway, you and your friends and your leadership team, right? And you're looking out the windshield. And you're going to this destination. And right now, you all look out and you see this mountain in the future. You know, it's like this big. And so you have like, it's a little vague, but now you go a full year further. And now the mountain is this big. And you see the colors of the trees. You see the birds. You start to be able to fill in this picture. And why this is so important is because it sets you up for a really great 1-year plan. All right, so again, we're just going to take the 3-year picture, come in, set the date, the revenue, profit measurables, and now we're going to set 3 to 7 top company goals for the year. 3 to 7, not 23. We always say in this process, less is more. You've got to understand that in order to be great, there's going to be a lot of good things. You're going to have to probably say, no, not now. And I'll show you where to put those as it turns out. But you as a leadership team got to agree. These are the top 3 to 7 goals for the year. And this is what we're committed to. Then we're going to move into the 90-day world. This is the rocks. Again, the future date, you've got a 90-day window. And it's been proven scientifically that, you know, people start to fray after about 90 days. You know, I lose hair, change, you know, people on your team, hair color may change in about 90 days. So this whole idea that we've got to set some priorities. What are the top 3 to 7, again, top company priorities, you know, rocks for the quarter, and 3 to 7 for the company. And you're going to have somebody on that leadership team who is accountable for driving the results in that top priority in that rock. And we're going to put their name right there in the document. And ultimately, your leadership team will also have some rocks, as well as maybe individual employees as this continues to roll out through your organization. And the 8th and final question is, what are your issues? Okay, we talked about this as this idea. You got to get it out of your head. These are, remember the 1-year plan and the 3-year picture. And, you know, hey, what are those things that, man, they're opportunities, but maybe we're not taking advantage of them. Maybe they're problems that, you know, we don't have to solve them right now, but they're going to come up in the future. This is just a long-term parking lot for these issues. And we get to the issue section. I'm going to explain to you how we prioritize them and solve them as a team, how that works. So that is the VTO. That is answering the 8 questions. That's the first tool in the vision component. And so there's one more tool. It's called Shared by All. Now, this is going to probably surprise a lot of you. There's only one way. So again, just answering those 8 questions as a team, getting your leadership team on the same page is huge, big. But ultimately, to get to 100% strong in the vision component, your vision needs to be shared by everyone in your organization. So how do you do that? Well, again, this isn't, I promised you simple. You've got to tell them. And you've got to tell them every quarter. You got to give them time to internalize it. You got to give them time to, you know, decide if they want to be a part of it. And you got to you got to tell people 7 times before they hear it the first time. That's just human nature. And they got to understand this isn't a flavor of the month. This is how we're going to fundamentally operate and drive the future of this business. So you got to have that, what we call the state of the company address, where you're getting all your 10, 20, 40 employees in a room on a Zoom, and you're telling them, hey, this is where we were, this is where we are right now, and this is where we're going. Quarter after quarter after quarter, you share with them the entire VTO, and you make sure it's updated, and you're giving them that very important state of the company. So that is what is getting you to 100% strong in the vision component. So now we're going to look at people. People, this is popularized by Jim Collins. You got to have right people. You got to have them in the right seats. I'm going to show you guys a couple of tools here to help you consistently measure and manage your people to make sure the right people fit your culture like a glove. And that really comes down to the core values, right? EOS has 5 core values: humbly confident, grow or die, help first, do the right thing, and do what you say. So here's what I do for those of you that have the workbook in front of you. Go ahead and you'll see that there's maybe some suggestions. If you flip the page, there'll be like a whole list of core values that you could choose from. For right now, what I'd like you to do is pick 2 or 3, pick 3 core values. Maybe your core values. Maybe you want to grab a couple that are on that PDF and just put them across the top there. All right. Then what I want you to do is, you'll see the name column. Put your name in that column. So in this case, it's Maria. And then I want you to put your best employee. I want you to put the name of your best employee in the next box. And then I want you to put the name of your worst employee. Now, I understand even, you got all good employees, just put the best of the worst, right? This is just an example, open and honest. Throw that name in there. And then there's a very simple scale. I'm going to show you how this works, is that, if most of the time, now it's really important, if most of the time this person demonstrates this core value, you put a plus there. All right. Now, if most of the time they don't demonstrate this core value, you put a minus. Then if sometimes yes and sometimes no, it's a plus minus, right? And then you just go employee by employee, value by value, through the core values. Now, you're going to see Maria's a plus because, she's the owner. She's perfect. No. And then you're going to see, okay, well, what does this really mean now? Well, it doesn't mean a whole lot until we establish the bar. And like I say, the bar isn't where we're going after this. Dan is going to organize that, though. He said, what did your peer group started as peers and beers, right, Dan?
Yeah, peers and beers.
You can go to the bar. You may feel like you need to go to the bar after this, but the whole idea is establishing, what does it mean to really fit your culture? So so in an organization that has 5 core values, we recommend setting a bar that's high but not unattainable. So we would say any combination of 3 pluses and 2 plus minuses would be an employee in this culture of 5 core values of what it means to fit your culture. And when you're below the bar, some things, there's some conversations that can be had. But again, you can't really do this with your employees until you've really communicated these core values on a very consistent basis, so they know what they're being measured and managed based on. So this is the people analyzer. We're going to come back to this in a second, because first thing, it was about right people. Now we've got to get people into the right seats. And what's a right seat person? A right seat person is, they don't necessarily need a lot of hand-holding, right? They just really understand what needs to get done. They get it done, and they hit their numbers, right? They're just really good at what they do. And we got to make sure that you have both right people and they're in the right seats. We take a structure first, people second approach. And the way we do that is we have this other tool. It's called an accountability chart. So we're going to look at this accountability chart at a really, really, really quick high level, where a lot of organizations, I think, get confused, and there's different terminology and feelings, based on the size of your company. We don't really have a hierarchy. We don't really have a structure. Well, that could be part of the problem. And if this is where a lot of challenges are faced in small organizations, or big organizations, even for that matter, But it's what do the functions. Now, notice I called these, what are the functions at the highest level of your organization? What EOS has discovered is, there's typically 3 to 7 top leaders or top seats in your organizations. And their functions. There's a marketing and sales function, there's an operations function, and a finance function at the highest level. Now, this is certainly customized. Marketing could be split into marketing and sales. There's different functions. Operations could have a couple of different operations functions. Finance could be split into HR and IT. But just on a real simple basis, that's that layer, that leadership team level. And then on top of that is that integrator. And that integrator is that person that beats the drum in the organization. And they're helping, remove obstacles, of challenges and problems, and helping drive results for the organization. And then what sits on top of the integrator is what's known as the visionary. This is that big picture person. And, we like to say that, they love to manage big relationships. They don't like to get into the, all the fine details. They don't enjoy accountability. They just, they lead more on emotion. That's the visionary seat. So does it just a brief description? We need to start with just building this structure for the leadership team and getting everybody to see it, and then start to agree on, well, what is that seat? What do each of these seats look like? What's the function name? And what are the 5 roles? Again, simplify. We've got to identify what the 5 major roles are in each seat. And let me give you guys some examples here of what this looks like. So then you would put the name in the seat. So you got a marketing and sales seat. We've got LMA, lead manage accountability, marketing, anyone that sits in this seat. So this is the whole idea here. You are trying to evaluate, do we have the right person in the right seat? All right. So when we look at this person and we name this person and we say, okay, this is what we expect from them on a very high level, very simplified high level. They have to lead, manage, and hold people accountable. They've got to handle the marketing. They've got to hit the sales number. They got to sell, and they got an account management. For this particular company, that's what it looks like. That's what they need to accomplish. Those are the 5 major roles on a very simplified basis. Now imagine doing that, building that out for your entire organization. But now this is where it gets real. When you look at that function and you look at those 5 roles, you want to make sure that the person sitting in that seat gets it, wants it, has the capacity to do it. GWC. Get it, want it, have the capacity to do it. So when you look at wins face-offs, like you're answering that question, do they get it, want it, have the capacity to do it? Yes or no? Do they create scoring chances? Yes or no? This is an example from a hockey team, right? So again, this works in businesses. This works wherever you have a very specific role. You want to really be open and honest, and you and the leadership team are really evaluating that person on, in that function, in that seat. Do they really get it? Want to have the capacity to do it? So now we're going to come back to the people analyzer. We first evaluated them on core values. Now we're going to evaluate them for the right seat. Get it, want it, capacity to do it. Again, put the people in there, and then it's a yes or no. Yes or no. And then we say the bar is non-negotiable, 3 yeses. That's a person who's in the right seat. So you've got right people, right seats, very powerful tool for you. Obviously, this creates 2 kinds of people issues. You got a right person in the wrong seat. Well, that's not as challenging to solve, because in a lot of organizations, there's other seats. So you can, possibly move that person into the right seat. You got a wrong person in the right seat. That's a little bit more challenging. And that's where communicating on core values, and then ultimately maybe having to make a tough decision with that wrong person that's hitting their numbers, right? That is maybe contributing, but we just urge you, they're most likely in many ways causing challenges, problems, toxicity, in ways that sometimes you see, in other ways you don't. So that's what these tools, bring to you. That's people, right seats. I'm looking, we've got about 15 minutes here, but getting the right people in the right seat, you got to have both. That's what's getting you 100% strong. We're going to pick up some speed here. The next component is the data component. This comes down to, I love this quote by Jim Barksdale, former Netscape CEO. If we have data, let's look at it. If all we have are opinions, let's go with mine. right? So again, this just kind of goes to that emotional, decision-making that happens. But what we want to do is boil your business down to 5 to 15 key measurables and on a company level. Then maybe individually, you have a company scorecard, you'll have an individual, department scorecard, and then each of your employees ultimately has a number, right? Has a measurable. So, and you can look in the workbook, there's some examples of like, this is about being predictive. These measurables are behaviors. These are things that you want to be looking on a weekly basis. You want to have a weekly goal for these measurables. You want to have someone on that leadership team that's, it's their responsibility to keep that measurable on track. And then you're going to look at 13 weeks of history. Every week, you're updating these measurables. You're looking for trends. You're looking for challenges. You're looking for opportunities through this data so that you guys can be proactive in some decision making. So that's the company scorecard, and getting that nailed down. There's a few examples, again, also in your workbooks, as well as some examples for some scorecard measurables. And let me see, let me advance the slide. I'm not sure what's going on here. Oh, there it is. Okay. So, and like I said, measurables, this gets down to each of your employees having 1, 2, or 3 measurables. I always like to tell the joke. I'm like, all your employees have a number, whether you give it to them or not. It's 4:30 if you haven't given it to them. What time are we going out? Right. So the idea here is you got to have, really look at your business at, from a pure, numbers perspective to get an idea of what's happening in your business and keeping your team members, on track. That's getting you 100% strong. Now we come to the issues component. This is a very simple. I've already talked about this before. This is an issues list. There's a long-term issues list, and then if you can imagine, there's like a department issues list, and there's a leadership team issues list. And this whole idea is you want to get these issues out of your head. You're building a culture where you are encouraging people to get these issues, these things that are slowing them down, ticking them off out of their heads and onto paper. It's a list so that it can be prioritized. And then we'll take you through something, the issue solving track, which is called IDS. And I'll go into that here in a second. But you're going to get the issues on a list, and we're going to IDS. IDS stands for identify, discuss, and solve. Very rarely is what's stated on the issue the real issue. You've got to do some digging. So you've got to dig down deep and then start discussing. The challenge for most organizations, most leadership teams, is they just discuss the crap out of stuff and they never really identify the real root cause of the problem, nor do they really move to solve anything. So we teach this IDS process where you've got to prioritize, you got to get everything on the list, and then you got to prioritize the 3 most important things that you've got to tackle first. And this is a time-saving mechanism. Chunk them. What are the top 3? Look at your entire list with your leadership team. Get them. You don't vote on what's most important issue. You just, what's most important to you, you shout it out, you get it 1, 2, and 3, and then you go through IDS. You get that first issue, you identify, discuss, solve. We like to say you rinse, you repeat, you rinse, you repeat, and you get through all your issues. That's the issues solving track. I know I simplified that. I'm going at rapid speed here, and I apologize for that. But this is a very critical tool. It takes time to master. That gets you to 100% strong. Is that when you've got an issues list in every area of, every department, your leadership team, and you guys are solving your issues as they arise and making them go away forever for the greater good of your organization. That's getting you to 100% strong in the issues component. Next is the process. This is core process. Again, those handful of things. Going to surprise you, and this is going to hurt a lot of entrepreneurs in the room. Got to get your processes documented. Now, good news here for the entrepreneurs. We believe that 20% of the documentation gets you 80% of the results. We're not talking about a 700-page SOP manual. We're talking about the very highest level core processes in your organization. And I'll give you a few examples of that in a second. But then ultimately, we've got, so these are the handful of core processes. You've got a people process, a marketing process, sales, operations, customer service, accounting. Imagine this becomes like a table of contents. These are the core processes. You actually name your processes, maybe uniquely for your organization. And then, as you can see with the document, it's all about simplification. This is this is an example of a people process. It's more of a checklist of things that need to be done And, you got people process, sales process. And, if you can imagine just a manual, like a quick little handbook that you can go to, and everybody in your organization, anybody that touches any one of these processes can quickly flip to that. I mean, we're not talking a huge manual. We're talking each process could be, 3 to 5 pages long at max. Now, obviously, there's going to be detailed instructions in your business, but that's not what this is about. This is about at a high level, keeping everything simple so you can move through. And also, you can start to identify any measurables that are important for your team. I love it what the founder of the Four Seasons said: systematize the predictable so you can humanize the exceptional. That is the process, and you got to get it followed by all. There's a checklist. You've got to train your people. You got to measure them. You got to manage them. You got to update your core processes at least on an annual basis so that you can get, all of your core processes followed by everybody in your organization. So train, measure, manage, update. That's getting your core processes to 100% strong. Again, last but not least is the traction component. Traction, again, bringing this vision down to the ground. The Rocks is really about creating a 90-day world. And it's also about meetings, having the right meeting pulse for your organization. Like I said, every 90 days, organizations, people, they begin to fray. They cannot stay focused on any one thing longer than 90 days. We need to take time to celebrate what we've accomplished in those last 90 days. And we need to agree and really bring to light where are those areas that we're not on the same page, and get everybody back on the same page so we can go back into that business and execute with real discipline and accountability. What we teach, and I'm going to show you guys something here, is the meeting pulse. I'm going to show you the leadership team level 10 meeting. But for all your meetings and getting the right pulse in your organization, it's going to be on the same day, same time, start on time. It's going to end on time. It's going to have the same agenda. This is what really is going to create traction in your organization, when you can have really effective meetings in your organization where people say that was a 10. I don't know how many meetings you've been to that you would rate them a 10, but I'm guessing, unless you're following a format similar to this, they might not be at the 8 or above level. It's a very simple agenda. It's broken out into kind of like a reporting section. First thing is good news. It's just a segue. You got to recognize that, we're human beings, not human doings. We've got to transition from working in the business to on the business. And this is an opportunity to share something personal as well as something business that's really going well, and get your energy up for this meeting. This is the most important meeting of the week for you and your leadership team is right here. This is a 90-minute meeting. Ooh, I know that for some that seems like unheard of, but the idea here is we're just going to check in 5 minutes, sharing some good news. Remember the scorecard we talked about, the rocks we talked about. Hey, those employees, those ones that maybe are demonstrating your core values, and those that maybe aren't, some new customer information, getting that all, open, honest, out here in the open, 5 minutes in each of those categories. And then, yes, we inject a to-do list. Now, this is really neat because this to-do list actually is generated from the next section of the meeting, which is issue solving. Right. So typically when you solve issues, and you're going to spend about 60 out of the 90 minutes solving issues with your leadership team on a weekly basis, you're going to solve some issues, and typically a to-do or two is going to come out of that. And what's nice about this is your promise to your leadership team. We like to say 90% of those to-dos are getting done on a weekly basis. This just reinforces accountability for your leadership team, and you get a lot of the most important things done. This isn't your to-do list of things you got to do your job. This is as it relates to solving the key issues facing your organization. We already talked about IDS, and then you're going to move to conclude, right? You got 5 minutes left in the meeting. You're going to wrap it up. Are there any cascading messages? Are there any, let's review the to-dos, and that, and make sure that everybody's clear on who's doing what as we leave here, today. And then let's rate the meeting. Did we give our best today? Was this a 10? And then you guys open and honest, rate that and move forward. So that is a weekly meeting. This is the kind of the general prescription, if you will, for leadership teams, those top 3 to 7 leaders in the organization meeting weekly. So that's the level 10. That's getting you traction. That's getting you 100% strong. You've created that 90-day world. You've set the top priorities and rocks for the organization. You've celebrated, you've seen when you're off track, and you've come back on a weekly basis, or you have the right meeting pulse for each of your departments, which that agenda may change a little bit. Maybe the duration, the frequency could change a little bit, but this is just getting it all the way down through your organization. That's the traction component. This is the EOS model. Hey, I want to challenge you guys, go get some results, right? Yeah, we're 5 minutes to close here. EOS has a lot of tools. What I've shared with you today are the foundational tools, the VTO, Vision Traction Organizer, which you can see that blown up in your in the workbook, the accountability chart. We've talked about that, the rocks, the meeting pulse, the scorecard. Those are these 5 tools will get you, I would say if you implement these tools in your business with real consistency, real discipline with your entire leadership team, just these 5 tools, you will be getting, you will be getting more of what you want from your business. If not, you will be getting you to the 80% strong. That's what we have found. EOS are 649 professionally trained EOS implementers around the globe. We've conducted over 130,000 full-day sessions in over 25,000 organizations. We have found that these foundational tools are the ones that will get you 80% of the results, and implementing them in your business all the way down through. So there's resources out there, eosworldwide.com. Go to my website. There's a traction library. There's some books. There's downloadable tools and videos. These things. There's something called Basecamp. If you're a self-implementer, you can, we have a help first philosophy. That's our core value. We want to help business owners. There are professional implementers like myself out there that can help take your team through this process. James, thanks for being on as well and just tuning in and, being willing to help. We, like I said, we're around the globe. So, I know we've got someone on the line in Hawaii, and there's someone we can connect you with there, but it sounds like you're already working with a professional implementer there. So that's good. That just kind of reinforces our reach in providing resources to business owners. So final thoughts are: choose and use a system, get what you want from your business, and then I would say take the organizational checkup. So remember how we said, here's the lens, so there's about 20 questions that you can answer, and it will give you a score of where at least you think you are. You can do it individually, or you could even do it as a company to get kind of like an organizational checkup and get an idea as to where you feel in each of those 6 key components. There's a series of questions that you can answer to kind of give you some open, honest feedback as to where you are in your team health. Again, lots of success stories. This is a client from Minnesota that's been running on EOS and 41 years old, and they just never imagined they would be getting, never felt so alive and in control of their future. And this is available to you. And again, statistically, it's there's a great need and there's a great desire to get more of what you want from your business. So I just encourage you to go out and do that. And then I just wanted to add some feedback if you wanted to add some feedback to the chat, I'd love to get your feedback. Hey, do you think we met the objectives today? Did you guys get that simplified lens? And the next thing is, is there an EOS tool that will add the most value to your business? And I put them down there. Like, is there anything in particular? Like, what? I think we need to maybe start working on that ourselves. I'd love to hear what where your head is at, what you're thinking. And then rating. I always like ratings, right? Well, sometimes I don't like them, but but it's open and honest feedback. Hey, was this worth your hour of your time today? 1 to 10. How did we do today? I'd love to hear from you. And then as a thank you gift, like I said, there's a traction library. There's great books out there. Maybe you already have traction, but maybe you don't have the process book, or Get a Grip, EOS Life, How to Be a Great Boss, Rocket Fuel. If any of those are of any interest to you, you don't have them in your personal business war chest of resources, let me know, email me, and I will mail you a copy free of charge. Happy to help. That is, and I think 10:59.
There you go. Way to end the meeting on time, Jim. Well, the other plug I'll give for you guys, Jim, that I use a lot is your YouTube channel. The EOS Worldwide YouTube channel has some great videos out there. All these topics that Jim's talking through today, there's a great EOS video out there on YouTube that you can go out and watch that I think is very helpful. So
Awesome.
Yeah, I would echo Charlie's comments. Also, for everyone, make sure you understand as we go forward, Jim has graciously accepted to be the point man for peer executive groups for national implementers. So even though you might not be in his region, by all means, be in touch with him directly or through peer groups, and he'll get you in touch with an implementer. He's going to be the guy for our network.
Awesome.
nice, I
Thank
like it.
you.
And I don't have a whole lot of questions in the chat, Jim.
No, I would say that we probably should do a follow-up specifically on scorecards. That's always my big thing. Every member has come to me and said, like, weekly indicators, monthly indicators, I feel like they evolve. You know, there's
That would be a great roundtable.
cards.
Yeah.
Excellent. All
Awesome.
right. Well, we
Yeah,
want to
happy
thank
to-
everyone.
happy to
We
help.
want to thank Jim for coming, and Jim, appreciate you taking time for this. And
my
you know,
pleasure.
everybody, we're going to be this is recorded. It's going to go up on our YouTube channel. You'll also have a link in all of our newsletters the next week or two. And certainly, again, Jim, thanks for your time today.
My pleasure. Have
Thanks,
a good day,
guys.
guys.
All right, take
Take
care,
care.
guys.
Bye.
Thank you.